Bigger than capes.
Give me some sadness.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, dry.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. This is our last episode of 2021. So late, in fact, it's going to come out on the first day of 2022. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Angela, Matt, and Will, collectively Bigger Than Capes. Sup?
Howdy.
Hello.
How you all doing tonight?
Yeah, good. Everyone have a good Christmas? Like,
Yeah, it's nice.
any comic book stuff?
I didn't know. I never asked my family for comic book stuff.
No, I
Like,
can't.
such
Smart.
detail about what I.
That is really smart because you don't need a Batman v Superman pajama set or something.
Yeah, we've all got one.
Speak for yourselves.
But yeah, they just to have to explain precisely what you
like.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then potentially, like a lot of stuff now, you can get in Weatherspoons, or you can get Weatherspoons. That's
Waterstones.
Waterstone.
Yeah, Weatherspoons, that well-known.
My alcoholism comes to the surface.
Well, a pint of dark fruits and Batman vs Superman.
Pajamas, please. I want to be cozy with my cheap pint. Or the internet, Weatherspoons or the internet, your usual book depositories.
Yeah. It's available wherever shit pints are sold.
Yeah, even so, having them to maybe have to go into an actual comic shop would be quite daunting for the uninitiated.
I've seen your mother in a comic book shop once.
Yeah,
Was it your
specifically
comic book
asked
shop,
you
Zach?
what to get me.
Yeah, it was when I worked at Travelling Man, and basically immediately came over and went, "Are you Zach? Will sent me. He says you'll know what he wants."
I think I was standing outside nervously.
She showed you the signet ring that had the secret symbol.
Came with a sealed letter.
Yeah.
You met on a bench. You were both sat on a bench in the park. She said, "Why, it's awfully warm this time of year in Panama."
You handed her 5 trades.
Yeah, and
In a brown paper bag.
You put 5 trades on the ground, and you walked away.
She left some money under a newspaper, and
Yeah.
the transaction was complete. Yeah, that's how I heard the story as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I also didn't get anything comic related, but I did spend some of the money I got on comic stuff. I got a new book by Box Brown that came out that I didn't know had come out. Child Star, which seems pretty interesting so far. Tragic comic.
Tragic comic.
In that it's a tragic comedy. It is a tragic comic, but it's also tragic and comical.
Tragomedy.
Yes.
That works.
Mm.
Legitimately trying to think of anything comic related I got for Christmas and coming up completely blank on this.
You did get me another wrestling figure from the AEW. So I love
did.
that, Zach.
Forgotten about that already.
Orange Cassidy currently has a skateboard, which I love.
This was always intention.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're
as far as
welcome.
Christmas comic gifts go, I tend to seek my own out.
Yeah, that's
same.
called being smart.
Yeah.
I generally just ask for various kitchen doodads.
Ooh.
We had to stop asking. We had to specifically say no more gin. Now 7 unopened bottles of gin.
Yep.
We were hoping to kind of remodel the kitchen at some point, so we didn't want kitchen doodads, so as to just have lots of shit in the kitchen that we don't currently have space for.
Are you remodeling it into a gin bar?
It would need to. We've got the stock.
Are they different kinds of gin, or?
Oh, are they all?
Some of them are flavored. Some of them are different brands. It's more gin than any single human should consume.
Yeah. I had the Jack Daniels problem where when I was a teenager, I drank some Jack Daniels once, and subsequently I have been bought a bottle of Jack Daniels every Christmas until I think it was 2019 where I made like a scene about it. Like, no more Jack Daniels. I give these away to people as they leave my house, so they're not mine anymore. I have like 7 bottles of Jack, and one of them is open. They're just aging in the corner.
If I could go back in time, I'd tell my 7-year-old self is tell everybody you're into internet tycoon shares. let them buy you Facebook and Twitter shares for your birthday. Honestly, it'll pay off.
A better gift than Jack Daniels.
Yeah. On so many levels.
So,
what was the question?
What are we talking about this week?
So technically, this is our December roundup. Also, not this. I don't know why I said technically. Like we're going to do something else. This just is our December roundup.
It's also our lack of Christmas special. In that there's nothing special about it, and it's happening around Christmas.
Well, it's technically half past Christmas, and it's. I don't know. Christmas is a construct.
It is.
Still in the glow of all the meat and cheese.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
We'll do a big Christmas special next year. We could have gone live on Christmas Day, but no, you all have families.
It was weird to get the notification say that Zach had started the call. And just to check in about 4 hours later and see that he'd got like the weird little faces on brooms for each of us. Like he was pretending to have more soldiers in a castle siege.
Oh dear.
Next year, though, it'll be Christmas Eve. I think we do a Christmas Eve Christmas special.
Oh.
Pretty bold.
Yeah.
Somebody will have to release good Christmas comics for once.
Yes, if only.
Brad Morrison.
Yeah, there's always the annual clause.
Yeah, Klaus clause. Revisit that.
I think can we all start referring to Father Christmas as the annual clause?
I mean, I'm quite happy to do that.
You mean like
to him as Grant, if you like.
You mean like annual gift man who lives
annual
on the
gift man? Yeah, the annual clause.
They call him in Japan they call him annual gift man. He lives on the moon.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah,
that works for me better.
Yeah, quite significantly, actually. Yeah. Anyway, the point, I guess. Yes, it's our December roundup. We got 4 books from 4 different publishers. Yeah.
Look how good and smart we are.
I always say it, and sometimes it's true. This is one of those times. I guess I'm starting us off.
Yes.
With Lunar Room from Vault. Lunar Room is written by Danny Law. The art is by Gio Esposito. Coloured by DJ Chavez, lettered by Andworld Design, and I've made that sound like I've got another thing to say. I don't. So, Lunar Room.
Describe this book to us.
Lunar Room starts off with kind of a secret society we're introduced to called the Knowing. Seemingly headed up by a chap called Axton, who has a twin brother called Zach Zero. Major disappointment they weren't like Axton and Zaxton, but whatevs. Basically, while Axton is introducing some new recruits to the Knowing, Zach is trying to steal some kind of magical blade thing that's just kind of floating away in a room by itself. Then that stops, and we catch up with. I say catch up with a woman called. Introduced to a woman called Cynthia Breaker, to full name her, who is wrestling a banshee in the street. I don't know what to tell you guys. And I thought this was just going to be a fight scene because she's like breaking out octopus stretches and German suplexes.
Yeah.
But no, she then heads over to the local, I don't know, monster wrestling fight night deal, where we're introduced to some people she's ran afoul of at some point, who she ends up boxing a wrestling match against two of them, Idris and his friend Clark, or Tekken Blood for some reason. I can't decide if that's a pun. Is it funny? I don't know. So she has to have a tag team match against them that just turns into a good old-fashioned fight. She somehow runs into Zach, who turns her a bit werewolf, because we find out that she used to be a werewolf, but now she's not a werewolf. Yes. Although some would argue that being a werewolf is a curse. So is this a double curse?
New curse. It's a different new curse.
Yes, it's the sequel to the original curse. Like New Metal or...
New Coke.
Yeah. It's not as good, but ultimately it will surpass the original. Except New Coke. What's my point? They have a fight. She gets a bit wolfy, has like a wolf arm for a little bit.
Yep.
Wins the fight, tries to flee, stops having wolf arm. Issue 1.
Can you imagine that as the pitch?
Yeah, kind of.
Knock that out. No.
Yeah.
That's actually one of my main issues with this comic. Is it seems like the pitch for the first. It feels like a pitch being made, but never reaches the end of the first issue. Also, it has chapter breaks literally every
couple of pages.
If
At
that.
some point, yeah, there's one where chapter 6 and chapter 7. Chapter 6 is halfway down one page, and chapter 7 is the top of the next. There are a total of 4 panels between those 2 chapters.
And other than chapter
No real time
1,
passes.
yeah, chapter 1 focuses on the knowing Axton and Zach and lasts about 4 pages. And then chapters 2 through 7 are the rest of the issue, but all immediately follow on from each other, never changing location or character focus. We literally follow Cynthia, Sin, and Zach as they're together for like 75% of this comic. So what's the point?
I sort of agree with you. I think this comic seems to go for a into the deep end technique of just sort of throwing you into this world without giving you much explanation. And the generous side of me thinks that you might get that as you keep going.
Yeah.
But as a standalone issue, it's failed to make me kind of care about either the characters or the world that they inhabit. I found the lack of information actually a little bit irritating as I read the book.
It's like we will give you no exposition whatsoever. We'll just dump this stuff and expect you to go with it. And I'm not one for like tons of exposition, but something would be nice. Just a little bit. Just just a bit.
See, I feel I was maybe a little bit ahead of you because I've read most World of Darkness source books, and therefore have the exposition.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be cruel by saying that. That's more of a joke than anything that I think of whenever I see let's throw together basically every sort of like monster magic-y thing in a modern urban setting. I immediately can't help myself but think, okay, so we're throwing together. So go over to the bookshelf and grab all of the source books. They're all on the table. Yes, you can be a werecrow who's also a member of the technocracy, but secretly is working for the Sabbath or something. There are bits in this book that I should like a lot. Namely, like Secret Monster Fight Club. Is
that's
a thing
cool
that,
idea.
to me, should be immediately like, oh, this is a thing Matt will like. It's wrestling, it's blood sport, but it's all different types of monsters and wizards, and such. Sorry, go on, Zach. You were going to say something.
I largely agree with you. I think there's a lot of stuff here that does kind of. I quite like werewolves. I quite like. There's definitely Angie is definitely a vampire. I think we can all see.
Yes. Yeah. She's got the white streak in her hair.
Yeah, vampire classic. And I quite like the. Oh, sorry.
The fighting in like the club that we see feels so weightless, and like there's no energy to it. Like I wish it was flashier, like, or showier to make. Like, if you're not going to have it be something that has impact from like that, make it flashy and weird and stuff. And we get a second of that when we have the weird like snake person Nagari type thing beforehand. That's cool. Like, that's a monster that we're seeing that's weird and is probably doing some strange cool things in the ring.
Yeah, it feels like in any other medium that would be focused on as like an introduction to that scene, and instead it's kind of a background detail,
which could be fine if I was just grabbed by anything else. I like some of the angsty dialogue where like Sin is going like, it is just like, I could try. Basically, he's going, I could try and deal with my feelings, but fuck that.
I don't wanna.
But I don't want to. Like, I enjoy that. That's a thing that also gets me. Like, what? Like, angsty gay romance. Like, yeah, cool.
I kind of expected with this, like, as I say, there's a lot of things that I'm into, and to go to something that Angela's reviewed for the website, based on the cover, I was expecting this to almost occupy like kind of shadow service kind of territory.
That's what I was hoping for. And it isn't. It's just,
not so much.
No.
They even have the artist for shadow service does one of the variants. Do. Yeah. I don't know. I don't dislike where this is going, and I quite, like I say, some of the elements do appeal to me, and I think Gio Esposito's art is kind of pretty nice throughout. I think it suits what it does.
The bit where you have got Sin's like arm being all werewolfy, I quite liked that.
Yeah,
how the proportions are slightly different. Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a full issue and feels like some of the format almost damages what this could be.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there's some good layout choices, like paneling's kind of constantly changing, which is nice, and I think overall art is good. That first page reveal with the like shadowy werewolf hand is a good page, and I kind of feel like there is potential. I just I don't know if this first issue embraces what that potential could be.
Not got me, which I was kind of hoping.
Yeah, it doesn't sort of hook you in the way that reading the synopsis you think you will, and it's just a shame that I don't have any particular attachment to any of the characters. There's bits about them, but it's just like yeah, they exist. Yeah.
No, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what. Like, does she want her powers back? Does she not? Why is Zack stealing the sword? What does any of that sort of mean? I don't know what. Yeah, why you specifically? You. I don't know what it means and what the jeopardy is and why these characters are involved or should care, or there's too little of it in place to grab me. I think the art, as you say, is pretty nice. Very kind of clean and clear art. There's no particular page that I found like, I don't know, like sort of really inspiring art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's no
nothing
sort
Yeah.
of
way.
one
not a
moment
wow
that really, indeed, it's a fairly common complaint of mine. But there's a lot of panels with just no detail in the background, and that's just a bit of a bugbear of mine. Just like a color splash, and it loses any sense of kind of place. You don't know where they are in the room or the environment that they're in. Yeah, always just kind of annoys me a little bit.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's a fair point. I on positives, I do like quite a few of the variant covers.
yeah. There's one
some
in
really
particular-
nice ones.
There's one in particular that I really.
Well,
like.
yes. Let Zach do your. There's one in particular for me as well. Do you want to do your predictions?
All right. I for Matt, I'm gonna go hands down. It is, I don't know which number it is, but it's the Maria the Wolf variant.
Yeah, buddy.
That's crazy over the top details. That might also be Will's pick. Yeah.
Correct.
Ooh, prediction.
Angela, have you got a favourite variant, or am I?
I might have. Yeah.
I'm inclined to say Angela is the same as me, and it's the Nathan Gooden like Venom homage style thing. I think
Yeah.
it's a Venom homage.
That's
That's
very
what
good
I
cover
read
as
it
well.
as. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like,
that's
for
my
a-
favorite.
for like a second best cover. Like for me, that's my second best cover. Sorry, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I
Not
get that.
Second best cover competition. The winners.
Yeah.
Also, Richard Pace's, I can't tell, but really looks like Parker Posey has just been who he's decided this character looks like.
Oh.
And
I wondered what that reminded me of.
maybe that's just a coincidence, but yeah, that's the face I'm getting. That is who Parker Posey is who I think she is, right? You know, Blade
I'm not
Trinity.
sure.
Yeah.
Also more successful stuff.
Was it which one was Triple H in?
Blade Trinity. Same
Yeah.
one as Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
It's the best Blade. Look at that cast. Come
No,
on.
you're absolutely
Dracula's
wrong.
in it.
You are
Yeah,
absolutely wrong, because that Blade film doesn't feature the some motherfuckers always got to try to ice skate uphill line.
Fair point. I'm just going to be straight with y'all. I just think all three Blade films are great. I think the TV show was good.
The one with sticky fingers.
Yeah, man. I wish he wasn't called that.
It's a hell of a confession, but say 3 Hail Marys and you'll be fine.
I just...
Oh yeah, sorry. This is when it
Blade,
comes out.
man.
We're also a Catholic podcast, apparently.
You wouldn't get just 3 Hail Marys. You've got to have at least 10 plus some Our Fathers in there. Trust me.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I've never really been very near Catholicism, so
Trust me. I was deep in it for a long while.
And there's standard practice for liking all the Blade films? Is that
I mean, you know, vampires
written
are
down
involved.
somewhere?
You know,
or-
holy water, garlic. That's the bit they don't tell you at First Communion.
I think I could... I bet for most things we talk about, I could go from wherever we are to Blade Trinity in like 3 moves.
I mean, this one was tenuous, so I absolutely believe you.
Yeah. This one was easy. There was clearly a vampire in it.
Oh,
That is true.
I don't know what my point was, but variant covers are quite nice.
Variant covers are cool.
I don't have a lot more to add on this. I don't know if you guys do.
Shall we move on to the next book then?
Oh gosh, can we?
Hooray!
The next book we have elected to speak about is King as a Democracy. It's King of Spies, published by Image Comics, written by Mark Miller. It's arted by Matteo Scalera. It's coloured by Giovanna Nero. It is lettered by Clem Robbins. It is the story of, where's his name? Roland King, who is a super spy of the James Bond mold. But he is in sort of his old age now and apparently regretting a lot of the things he did and the decisions he made in the name of Queen and country. And I guess by the end of the issue, sort of begins to embark on a mission to take down all of the people he, I guess, put in power through his...
Or maintained in power.
Or maintained in power. It's probably a better way of saying that. Through his top-tier spy badassery. I just don't know where I land on this book. I really can't like make up my mind.
Yeah.
I really like Matteo Scalera from Black Science fame.
Yes.
Mhm.
So when I read his name on the book, I was expecting to really like the art in this, and that did not disappoint. I think from the action to the kind of quieter, talky bits are really, really nice. And again, just to double down on my book
it is
there,
largely a gorgeous book.
there is tons of detail. Like when you first see him in his sort of older period, and it's in his house, and every bookshelf is filled with stuff. And it's only a minor thing, but it really absorbs me into a story when you just get a sense of the place that they're in. I think the base premise is works for me. This idea of a spy not being treated wholly as a hero, and taking some reflection that just because you've been told one thing is a good thing isn't necessarily a good thing. And I guess coming to that realization towards the end of his life, just bits of it that are just so Mark Miller that I just sort of grind my teeth sometimes.
It's one of those let's kind of do a critical reassessment of James Bond stories, which you get every now and then, which is let's look at what do these secret these agencies do, both sort of secret and less secret, what is their role in the world. It's one of those. It's like looking at kind of the fact that it's all basically about upholding the current ruling structure by any means necessary, installing dictators, removing people when they finally outlived their usefulness, and basically damn the sort of collateral damage. It's one of those, and it's my question is whether it's trying to kind of have its cake and eat it, because it doesn't everything that opening sequence in Panama, just before the US, sorry, just after the US has invaded, is very cool. You know what I mean? It's the action is cool. He is he's James Bond smarmy, but he's cool and he's doing cool things.
You see, there's a bit in there that makes me really cross, which is the bit with the ambulance, where he just slams into that ambulance and the woman's giving birth and the baby literally pops out, and he's like, Romans are really good at, and I absolutely loathe that. So many, it's just why did you have to have a woman giving birth in the back of the ambulance? Was it just there so you could have that whole bit where the baby flies out and someone says Jesus? I mean, what was the sodding point of that? And it just felt really 12-year-old boy kind of level for me, amongst many other problems I had, which was mainly most of the women in this book don't even have fucking names, dude.
Yeah.
That's the stronger part for me in my kind of my Millerism. And I think part of it is slightly unfair in as much that Mark Miller wears a lot of his opinions and politics on his sleeve. And therefore, when I read it in his books, I automatically assume it's his opinion. Now, I wouldn't always make that leap with other writers, where, of course, you can write people in your stories who you don't share their opinion. That's sort of the point. Otherwise, every character would just be you.
Not everyone is Bill Willingham.
Indeed. So,
thank God.
Yeah.
So for a lot of writers, I would give them that benefit of the doubt that if a character says something which is unpleasant, it's because that character is unpleasant.
Mm.
In Miller's case, I disagree with him on so many things fundamentally that I kind of read him into his stories, and I think that could possibly be unfair. You don't have to. Roland King doesn't have to be a nice man in any way to be the protagonist of this story.
No.
I think, in fact, that the reverse being true is the very point of it. So when Roland, has various opinions about things or the people he meets, part of me wants to take that with a pinch of salt and not just say this is Mark Miller like sharing his bullshit. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that I would afford to others. But you're right, there's not a single well-treated female character in this. I've got to be honest, the baby, that fits my 12-year-old boy sensibility of slapstick humor.
That.
But I appreciate that, that it's there are no real good depictions of women. I would say, to be fair, there aren't really very many good depictions of men either. It's not like it's strongly
true.
balanced one way or the other. Every man in it is basically a piece of shit who you meet, including Roland himself. So I don't think there are any.
I was going to say, I think in this instance, it's a little unfair to actually say that everything espoused is Miller's view, especially because Roland rejects everything that he does earlier at the end of the book. So, are you saying it's kind of one of these things where it's so which bits are you saying are his views? The bits where he endorses the things by having the characters do them, or the bits where the character then rejects the things that he did?
Yeah, you're right. And it's something I'm trying to sort of relieve myself of while reading this. There's one bit in particular that really made my eyes roll, which was Roland saying, now London's all Russians and dirty money.
Yeah.
And I thought that Miller has been sort of on record of being a foreign blamer for certain of our issues in this country. And it's those bits that make me feel that feels like Miller's opinion. You're right. It's unfair to label that because I don't know Mark Miller and I don't know what his true opinions are, but it's in those little moments that it felt.
I mean, there is a lot of money laundering in London, but we'll not get into that because I don't want to get sued for libel.
I think the problem is when you've got a creator who is so polarizing with his views, like Mark Miller, it's that whole death of the author thing. It's really, really difficult to separate him from his work. And this is it's an example. Roland King isn't a bad character. I mean, he is a bad character, but that's the point.
Yeah, he's a bad
man.
He's a mad person. And he grows and all the rest of it. But there's other bits that you think, the fact that he talks about sort of the mother, his ex-wife and the mother of his son. The son gets name checked, the ex-wife doesn't. And it wouldn't take much to just at least name check her. I don't expect, there aren't many named male characters either. But, you'd have thought that his ex-wife and the mother of his son might be someone who Roland would name. It's just
the bartender.
Rather than the bartender whose name is Arthur. I know more about the bartender than I do about the mother of his son, which is slightly weird. I mean, it's not a bad book, and the art's really good, but it's just hard because Mark Miller.
The breaking point for me with Miller was either years and years ago now, where I'd had my problems with him before this stuff, but I largely stopped reading Miller around the time of either the latter half of the original Old Man Logan. I think the starting half is actually really interesting and good, or Nemesis. just fucking Nemesis.
See, I completely get that, because I Old Man Logan starts good, and then it's all
It gets very
incest and rape, cracking.
Yeah.
And I abandoned Mark Miller books for ages, and till that kind of mid-period of the 2010s, where we got Hook and Chrononauts.
I've still never read any of them. And
really good. This is the problem.
Yeah,
they are
Chrononauts is
legitimately good books.
Starlight is one I always hold up for.
And Starlight's also good.
I've heard that some of them are actually endearing and actually like good. Like, and I know Mark Miller can do that. He wrote some really good all ages Superman stories like a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
Like his old like all ages, was it like Adventures of Superman?
I think so. Yeah.
Like, the animated series.
Yes.
Comic, I think.
Yeah.
He did some amazing stuff there. Like he can write good stuff, but I'm always so like I was so put off him by all of like Nemesis and stuff. But that's not being fair necessarily to this book.
No.
I liked it a lot more than I was expecting. As weird as it sounds, I actually didn't check who the creative team was on the book beforehand. For some reason, in this instance, I almost always do, but for some reason, like it was like the cover was like coated in butter, so I just slipped off it. Like I just didn't notice it. Like, and if he would have been one of the names I'd guessed, but he wouldn't necessarily have been I wouldn't have necessarily gone right at the end, oh, this is a Mark Miller book. Like, it's got a lot of the stuff, it's got a lot of Millerisms, but it's better than I've come to, than like my expectations are of a Mark Miller book. I agree with all of the criticisms, and I think I like this book more than maybe it deserves, because I have lower expectations. But like it also helps that Mark Miller almost always gets an amazing team of people to work with as well. So like I was saying before, it's gorgeous. Like character designs are amazing. Like the coloring, I love just the like look on King's like beard and hair, like the shading on it, like how like it's great. Like also like I love the drawing of the Queen. It's very funny to me. Like because at least it like makes her look like a weird old person. And so, yeah, like it I think that I think I like this book. I think it's trying to have its cake and eat it. I think it's got like I think it has a much like the main character admits to. The book has a problem with women, like with like its female cast, or like, but I still kind of like it.
I have a problem with this that perhaps only will relate to, is when we get the premise at the end of the issue of what Roland's plan is. Well, it's Renato Jones. It's a comic book that exists, and which is about a kind of rogue rich guy deciding to kill off the 1%, and that's also published by Image, and that's the same.
I think Renato Jones maybe takes more of a swipe at Batman than it does at Bond in that sense of like
but
billionaire
the
turning on his own
concept. I think.
It's absolutely there. You know, as you were saying, Matt, I think for me, the art does a huge amount of the heavy lifting here, because I do really, really like the art. When we first see them in that like club together,
Yes.
the background in that is just so detailed. I mean, the action at the beginning, as ludicrous as it is, it's just really like kinetic and like fun to read, and it moves from panel to panel in a way that always makes sense. If you've read Black Science, there's a bit on, I think it's the second page, where he jumps off the building and shoots some guys. The one on the left looks just like Kadir. Maybe that's Matty Escalera's limitation of faces, but yeah, like art-wise, I think it looks superb, and it does a huge amount for me. I say premise-wise, I like Spies and stuff. That's in my wheelhouse. Maybe it's just my own personal hang-ups more than anything. But yeah, something just keeps me away from really, really liking this book. And that's it. That's what I got to say.
Yeah.
Which I guess puts us on to Angela?
Yes, with the third book, number 3, as it were, which is No Holds Barred. Bard being B-A-R-D. This will be important later. Published by Behemoth. We don't do a lot of Behemoth books. The writer-creator is Eric Gladstone. The line art's by Gabrielle M. Kari. The colour art is by Ines Bravo. The letterer is one of our favourites, Aditya Bidikar.
Yeah.
So, No Holds Barred is somewhat humorous. Basically, it's told entirely in iambic pentameter, which is excellent in so many ways. William Shakespeare is not only a playwright, for he also fights crime in his alter ego, the Bard. And he's helped in this matter by his page, William Page, who is the Page. And Bard and Page are a bit like Batman and Robin, but in Elizabethan England. If you've seen the 1960s Batman series, which I have, because it is still my favourite interpretation of Batman, I also love it. I blame my mother for that one. So it's basically a bit of a riff on 60s Batman, but in Shakespearean England. In this first issue, Queen Elizabeth I has been kidnapped. I will forgive them the massive historical error of Buckingham Palace existing, because I just loved it so that I actually managed to get away with it. Elizabeth I is kidnapped, so Bard and Page must race across London and investigate. There are all kinds of references to Shakespearean characters and situations. So there's a big bit with Falstaff. There's a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern turn up. There's a brilliant bit with Francis Bacon that I won't spoil, but if you're familiar with the theories of who really wrote Shakespeare, there's a great payoff there. It's hilarious. It's really, really clever. It's a lot of fun. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It was just so good. It's got everything. I like Shakespeare. I like 1960s Batman. I like humour. I like ridiculous art. It's very much an Angela book, shall we say, on that level.
Angela, another little historical inaccuracy that I caught.
Go on.
As well. Is that it refers to the Illuminati. Now, the Illuminati weren't founded until the 18th century.
No.
God, what a bunch of nerds.
Yeah.
And the conspiracy theory of the Bavarian Illuminati was around the same time.
Yeah,
I'll be the first to admit then that I neither knew nor now care about the historical inaccuracies.
Oh no!
I really thought you were going to say
it's just us being.
It's just us being geeky on that one. Yeah,
I really thought that was going to be Will admitting he had no idea who William Shakespeare was.
So this is based on a real guy, right?
Yeah.
Wait, there are people out there who have the name Will. That's
weird how that's happened. Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of person that did pull Shadow Service up for their inclusion of sash windows in an Elizabethan house. So I am that person. Let's not forget.
Oh, God.
Fair play.
Yeah, so I am that kind of a person. I'm not convinced the carriage is right either. But hey ho. Overall though, you don't have to. I mean, there's a bear, for goodness sake, crops up in it. It's just so much fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. Like, I instantly warmed to this book because, like, it reminds me of like a Colleen Coover all ages book. Like, it just like the art is so, like, to me it's like it's very much its own thing, but there are occasional little flashes of like action where I go, oh, this is like I don't know, like Banana Sunday, or like Gingerbread Girl, or like Bandette, or like a little Scarlet Witch comics she did in the back of like the X-Men First Class comics. Like, yeah, I instantly, like, that's going to make me like it's going to score a book many points. And it's silly, it's fun. Like, I had, again, deliberately not read any summary of this. So as I was scrolling down and saw him flip back the bust, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
And the Elizabethan like bat cave.
I love the Elizabethan
with the giant coin.
The big coin, yeah.
It's so good.
The Bard Cave.
The Bard Cave, yeah.
And the fact that, like, in the flashback, like where Shakespeare's giving his origin story.
Yes.
And tiny little baby Shakespeare still has the facial hair.
Yes.
So it's like the bald pate on top.
Oh, he has the pate as well. Yes.
Yeah, he does.
He has the bald pate, the little mustache and goatee.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I largely agree. I think this was really fun. The art, with its like very cartoony style, was just really, really enjoyable. I think I like it when it gets like the drawing of bird, the messenger bird, and later on the bear.
Yes.
I kind of just take a sudden moment of slight veer into realism compared to other faces, and I think that really works.
There's
like
that great little bit where it zooms in on the robin, like from mid chest up, and you just see it with all the little glittery around it, and it's just like, oh,
I don't know why.
That's
I don't know why
lovely.
the bird's glittery, but that really made me laugh as well. I thought that was really funny. The whole 66 Batman style is perfect, and the fact that they don't sort of suggest that he's gone away and trained with ninjas in the Himalayas. He just gets the shit kicked out of him constantly. Like, he's not like a good fighter or anything.
I
He
would
is just
mistake
William
that
Shakespeare.
Now you shall feel the power of my fist. I would mistake that for a wee babe's touch.
Yes.
I do think the iambic pentameter. Yeah, thank you. Is pretty clever. Like, I think it's used quite well. And when we were looking at Behemoth books, I think it was that reason that I thought No Holds Barred might be the good choice.
Yeah.
I guess in the long term, I'm not sure
That's
the joke
exactly
holds long enough for me to think I'm going to read another 5 more of these. I think that's really fun.
6, which I think will help, and they're all going to be based on play. So the next one is Takeoff of the Merry Wives of Windsor, and then the third one's going to be the Tempest. So I think there is the potential that if it works those in quite well, it'll work to keep it a bit fresher. Hopefully,
yeah.
I had exactly that where I was like, is this just one sort of story that will work and I'll love and really enjoy, and then like see it next time and be like, oh, so it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
but
I do wonder how much depth it can afford. If, to be honest, if it existed as just a one shot, I'd be pretty happy with that. So like, this is a successfully told sort of comedy story.
I'm really hopeful though.
Yeah, I guess less optimistic of it holding true, but I'm pretty willing to give it a go. Like, I enjoyed this definitely enough to give another one a try. Anyway,
yeah,
I think I have a lot of the same concerns about if this will hold up for multiple issues. I think art is really good. I think lettering's really good. My only thing with the lettering that annoyed me was the origin pages, where if you do that handwritten cursive narration box lettering like Fables did every time, it makes me upset. It makes me really fucking annoyed. It's just the most awkward thing. And
I liked the origin lettering and stuff, but that's again just like, I totally get that it can be difficult to read it, but I'm just like, ooh, fancy letters. But
Fables just beat that joy out of me. They did it so 100%. Frequently.
So much.
I like the inclusion of having lots of different potions, like the
oh god,
like shark repellent spray. But in this case, it's just bacon grease.
It's just bacon, bacon for the hungry bear.
And it's
the
those
Shakes
bits.
coach.
Yeah.
It just says quick page. We've planned consequences for this. It's so perfectly Batman 66 of just always having the right tool then and there for the job. I think the sort of tone of it, I think, is spot on. I just want, I don't know, as a kind of parody, I just wonder, does it wear thin quickly?
Yes, that's like I say, that's my only real concern.
Yeah, that's my drawback on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's done very skillfully in this issue.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. So, from the ridiculous to perhaps the sublime.
That's pretty good, Angela. You should do more of this, segues.
Thank you. Matt.
Yes. Matt the Sublime.
Oh,
ridiculous. We get to know.
Which am I? I am talking about Animal Castle, published by Ablaze, written by Javier Dorison, art by Felix Delet, lettering by Tom Napolitano, and again, I did the same thing that Zach did, and acted as if there was going to be another person. It's really easy to fall into that trap, isn't it?
It is.
Apparently
so, basically, Animal Castle is kind of a take on on Orwell's Animal Farm, down to the title, obviously. Like, the premise, kind of as summed up by the opening page, is on the farm, all animals are equal. In the castle, some are more equal than others. And it's kind of Animal Farm with like a military republican dictatorship angle. We follow a cat called Miss B, who is widowed and raising her kittens on the on the sort of land around the castle, which was abandoned by the humans and has now been taken over by the animals and the bull president Silvio, and her sort of working the jobs that her husband used to do, or that are like much harder than she should be having to do in order so that she can earn enough money to support enough like buttons, enough like requisition tokens from the storehouse so that she can get the food to keep her family well and safe. We open on like an execution of a hen who stole her own eggs to stop from being taken to the storehouse, supposedly, as she is ripped apart by the dog militia. It is
grim,
pretty bleak, and is sold very, very well by horrified animal expressions. But yeah, this first issue is just about showing us the nature of the current situation at the castle. why it's intolerable, like what the populace do, like what they're subjected to, why it continues to exist, and sort of why it will inevitably devour itself. It's really, really cool. I love the kind of. It's weird. The animals are not anthropomorphized in a sense of like in a physical sense. They're anthropomorphized in terms of they are made into people insofar as like their minds and the sort of society, like in a societal way. And there are little sort of things about the way that they look and the way that they move that's humanized somewhat, so that you can more easily empathize with them. Like they are to some extent caricatures of people, like, as you would expect from this sort of story. Like the dogs, like, when you see like a Doberman or like a Pinscher, something, you have immediately that sort of that military sort of, it's the first thought that comes to your mind sort of when you see a dog like that, is the sort of strong sort of stiff control, like, and strength. When you see sort of like refined sort of musculature and like proud horns of a bull, it sells itself well to like a strongman dictator.
It uses some of the like Disney stereotyping, doesn't it? Of what animals are like.
Like so it's like that's the closest it comes to physically sort of anthropomorphizing. But it anthropomorphizes all of the characters like really well, whilst maintaining the kind of animalistic sort of traits of them all. Like all of the rabbits constantly going to see like a rabbit gigolo.
Who has a little comb over.
Has a little comb over and a tiny little like bow tie.
I think it's pretty great. Yeah, I think this ticks a lot of my boxes. As you've mentioned there, the art it feels to me like the end of Disney's 2D animation, and a bit like sort of Don Bluth, era kind of stuff. It does have a bit of Black Sad about it in terms of its kind of colouring, but as you mentioned, they're not people.
Yeah, and like the dark,
sort of
dark
clothes and but it reminded me of things like Beasts of Burden as well.
Yes,
and of course Stray Dogs. I really like any allegory, to be honest, and Animal Farm is one of my sort of favourite of them. And I think this paints it out really, really well. I think the central character, Miss B, the cat, I think she's a really strong character to see the world through. She's the only cat, well, apart from her two kittens, but she appears to be the only kind of working cat on the farm. As you said, she's had to assume what were her male mates' role at one point, and builds this sort of micro society inside the walls of these castles. Loads of different like mix of characters. I think the threat is really real with the execution at the beginning, and
how the issue ends.
How it it's bookended in sort of quite extreme violence. But I think that really really sets the level of like jeopardy for these animals and sort of what's at stake within their world. The expressions on the animals' faces are superb, like in terms of humanizing these creatures, and it is something that animation has mastered many times over in making us care about fucking ducks.
There are so many little tricks that can be applied.
There's things like the elasticity in things like beaks. Beaks don't function like that, but that's how you get expression out of geese, is by the beaks will just move however you need them to move. But I think, comparing some of the criticisms we've had of some of the other books today, the forward momentum of this book is really obvious. You're not beating over the head with it, but you know where this is going now and who our main kind of cast of characters are going to be moving forward. And I feel on board for it. I'm yeah, excited about this book. Angela, Zachary.
I think this is a really good comic. I think art-wise,
But-
it nails it. I think narratively nails it. I hate it, but I think it looks really nice and it is really good. I just don't want any more. Thank you.
I get that.
I'm exactly the same. I can recognise that it is a well-written, well-drawn, or arted, some might say, book. It has a lot of good things, but it's not for me. And I think it wasn't for me from pretty much the bit where Adelaide gets murdered. Animal Farm is one of those books that I read and loathed, and then I watched the cartoon because we did it in school, and I loathed it even more.
Yes, we did that as well.
And I think it just mentally scarred me in a way. But yeah, what I do like is we never see President Silvio. That's
Yes.
that's the one thing that we don't know what sort of animal the president is. We don't know where the president lives. Is the president really there? Is the president merely a construct to keep dogs in power? I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it's a really good book, but yeah, not for me, I'm afraid. That's just it. I have nothing more to add on that.
Nothing more. That's fair enough. I like that the dogs live by numbers. Like there's a clear hierarchy in the dogs. We only meet number 1 and number 2, but you get the impression that probably goes all the way down. And
I
don't know.
I also love that their collars are like medals.
Yeah.
In like the military sense.
And I hope we get to explore that because I'd like to see what life is like for these military dogs and, what pressure are they kind of put under to maintain this order, and what's it like being number 40? What's it like being kind of the bottom end of that hierarchy? So I hope we get to explore more of those things as the book goes along. But the idea of rebellion against oppression is always one that sort of lights my fire a little bit for storytelling, and it's just got it in spades here. And yeah, for me at least, the it's hard. I don't know. I wouldn't call it absolute extreme violence. Like it's visceral, but it's not.
Apart from maybe the last page.
The last page, yeah, is quite gory in and of itself. But for me, at least, that stamps the seriousness of the situation. And otherwise, these stories sometimes just feel a bit lightweight if they don't really set out the threat involved and make that clear to me.
That's true.
I think what's going to be real interesting is our top 4 is really going to be up for question. I think there's going to be some.
I think it's going to be a weird one.
Some real different choices today. Do you know what? I don't know if you guys think this as well, but I think sometimes a symptom of my opinion is because we read so much.
We do.
Yeah.
We read so much that I think sometimes it just feels like I've read this before. But what I mean is I read it before like 40 seconds ago.
I read it 2 minutes earlier.
Yeah. Can't blame things for coming out at the same time. But no, I mean, this isn't a highly original story, is it? It's clearly Animal Farm, but I don't know, just ticks my boxes, this one.
Same.
Fair enough.
But with you, with your boxes left unticked, I think that probably brings us to all we've got to say on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Books, no?
Shall we go on to our top 4s?
Yeah. You say that as if there's more than 4 to choose from.
Shall we go on to the order of these 4 books then?
Sure. I think I'm ready. I think I can do this.
Ooh.
I'm ready too.
And
Go for it.
Go on, Zach.
So 4, I'm going to go King of Spies. Pretty simply because I think it's half James Bond, half Renato Jones, and I liked Renato Jones enough to give it to Will, and I only like James Bond when it's fun. And that isn't what this is going to be. This is going to be Mark Miller doing Mark Miller all over stuff, even though he already did James Bond.
I was going to say, didn't he do James Bond?
Yeah, he did Kingsman, didn't he, as well?
Oh,
which
yes.
was him trying to do fun James Bond, and then they made a film that was that, because that's not what he wrote.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this for years. I'm going to keep saying it. The only James Bond I need is Archer.
I mean,
occasionally it's Die Another Day.
Yikes.
But more often than not, it's Archer.
I'm trying to figure out whether you're fucking with me.
He jumps out of a plane with a parachute, then starts snowboarding. He gets the living shit beat out of him and has to have a shower and a shave and looks amazing. What's not to like about Die Another Day?
Zach,
a guy has diamonds in his face.
Zach, Aston Martin call it the Vanquish. We call it the Vanish. And he makes the car go invisible. It's
invisible car is just...
Yeah, all right. I think we can agree we have very different viewpoints on Bond.
Yeah.
I don't know what argument Matt thought he was going to get out of that.
I have no clue.
Yeah, it's like I'll describe the things I don't like, and they're just a list of the things you do. Where's the argument there? So, okay.
Yeah. So where were we on ordering these books?
Yes, so we know King of Spies 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know where it's going to go, and I feel like at some point Bond's going to kill the Queen. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll be there for that.
Oh, Zach,
but
is this the new phase that she's entering? The phase of being killed by James Bond?
Sorry, Ronald King. Wait, Ronald King? Reginald King?
Roland.
I almost called
Colin King.
Ronald
See,
King.
I think this is the thing.
Nice.
If you call a character King, I think Colin. If you call a character Roland, I think, oh, the gunslinger.
Rat. Oh.
Yeah.
Him too. Both names are programmed for different things for me now. So hey, what was my point?
What's 3?
3. 3's Animal Castle. Really, mate. Yeah, legitimately think the art is killer, and everything should work. It's a cat that talks, that does cat things and threatens people with a claw. Should be into it. Honestly, don't think I'll ever consider it a book again after today, unless by some miracle it stumbles into my world and I think, you know what? Yeah, issue 2.
Oh, well. We're going to get Zach. Actually, I've already got Zach's birthday present sorted. Maybe next year for his birthday, you can get him this or for Christmas.
Listen, I feel like I've been on the wrong side of peer pressure before.
Like I say, good art, well drawn, not a bad comic. If you want something that is going to remain bleak whilst being about rebellion, go for it.
Yep.
I don't need it right now.
I totally get that. I just think you're wrong putting it at 3. But
maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. History will show.
That's all right.
History will show. History will be the decider.
But to paraphrase Mark in Peep Show, maybe you'll realise that I was right about this. I was right about Die Another Day.
I thought you were going to say, like, to paraphrase Jeremy, people like Coldplay had voted for the Nazi. No, that's Super Hands, isn't it?
Super Hands, you can't trust people, Jess. To be fair, a much better known Peep Show quote, I think mine ends with, and by God, I think I'm right about the congestion charge.
About the congestion charge, yeah.
I wish there wasn't already like Peep Show podcast and I could go into that as like break new ground, but here we are. What's my point?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2.
That's that way of saying your point is shit. It's number 2.
Number 2. So Help Me God is Lunar Room. I'm not sure why. If the street wrestling banshee scene could just be a little bit long, why doesn't that carry over to the fight scene?
Yeah.
Why is this my second pick when I'm starting by telling you what's wrong with it?
But it is a really good bridging German.
Oh, cracking German suplex.
With a bridge.
Kurt Angle would be proud.
But should have been a perfect plex.
It's harder to do. The heights are all wrong.
Like if Hennig could do it to the Giant.
I'm into the ideas here. I just want the execution. So I'm hoping
the excellence of execution.
This is why it's so hard doing podcasts with Matt.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping issue 2 pulls it out. I think the art works. I think the story can work. I don't know if it should just be a graphic novel. Who the hell knows? I have faith in this coming together a little bit. And number 1's No Hold Bars. It's Shakespeare's
No
Batman.
Hold Bars.
Number 1 is No Hold. Number 1 is No Holds Barred. It's Shakespeare's Batman. I don't know what you fucking want from me. I think it's got a long lifespan? No. Do I think the speaking in Shakespearean verse is going to get annoying? Obviously. Yeah, it's already annoying.
That's the point.
Yeah, it started annoying. That's par for the course. But it also has baby Shakespeare with a little bullshit facial hair and
I love that that's his motivation.
yeah. And his dad got turned into a horse, man.
His mum maybe got disappeared to the Feylands.
Yeah, we all know this is ending with A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's just how the fuck we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was that into Shakespeare until just now. I
don't think any of us realise.
I'm just game for where this goes. Also, Francis Bacon as a supervillain with a conspiracy theory, who is trying to set up his own conspiracy theory. It's good stuff. It's like a Doctor Who episode, but
good.
Hey, this would have been Tennant era, and we would have had a good fucking time.
Well, I mean, wasn't it a Tennant episode? Or
he meets
He
Shakespeare.
did.
Yeah.
He
I think does he also meet Agatha Christie and Charles Dickens? Was that
Yes.
all? Or was it Eccleston who met Charles Dickens?
I don't care
No,
about
I can't
Doctor Who
remember
to
which one.
remember.
It was definitely Tennant. Definitely met Christie.
Yeah, with a
That's
big
right.
B.
Doctor Who has forever been that
Well-
thing that I think I should like. And that's it.
so who's up next?
Well, I can do mine dead easy.
Go on.
My top 4 is essentially in the order that we talked about it. Lunar Room at number 4 didn't give me anything to grab onto. I don't know what the world is. I don't really care about any of the characters or their problems, and I don't know where it's going, but not in a kind of good, let's find out
That's
sort of
just
way.
like real life, Will.
Exactly. And I definitely don't read comics to get real life.
No, you read comics to see horrible violence against animals.
And
Absolutely. I mean, comics without death might as well just not be written. Number 3 is King of Spies. I have a huge amount of appreciation for the art. The actual kind of story and premise are definitely in my wheelhouse. Maybe it's my own personal feelings about Mark Miller that stops it from going any higher on my list. But I think there are legitimate criticisms about some of the things in that book. My number 2 is No Holds Barred. Said very, very carefully. I do like the Shakespeare as Batman thing. I do think a lot of the jokes work. I think the art's really fun. But I just don't see it having longevity for me. I think the joke might already be old by issue 2. So I can't really imagine myself coming back to it. And number 1 is Animal Castle. As the intro to this podcast will probably alert you. Bleakness and misery is kind of my corner. I love a good sort of apocalyptica. type story, and this ticks it with some great looking animal characters, tons of threat and risk, and yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting book to see where that goes. Who wants the next?
Angela, do you want to go?
Shall
or do you want me to?
I'll go next because I feel like I should name myself history for this bit. So find out why.
What? Because you're going to prove Zach right?
Yeah.
About Die Another Day.
Yeah. So basically, at the bottom is King of Spies. I can't divorce Mark Miller from Mark Miller's work for this particular book. The art is really good, but I didn't like the content hugely. I think there is some good stuff in there, but yeah, I just can't get over the horrible treatment of the women in it. Number 3, Animal Castle. Because it is really well written and it is really, really well arted and stuff, but I just have no further interest in it whatsoever. You know, it's just not my thing, but I think it's better written than King of Spies. Yeah, just a thing. 2 is Lunar Room, because if you locked me in a room and forced me to read another issue of any of King of Spies, Animal Castle, or Lunar Room, I'd probably reread Lunar Room, to be honest. It is the pitch of a comic. It's not a full comic. It needs a lot of work. It's like a first draft that needs hugely editing. But I feel like there's enough of a potential at the end, particularly with the werewolf thing actually, you know, happening and possibly becoming important, that I could probably read some more of that. And the first is No Holds Barred, because it's just good. It's just fun, and it's just 1960s Batman mashed up with Shakespeare. 2 of my favourite things in a comic for the first time, probably the only time, and that's probably a good thing. It's not worn out its welcome yet for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what it does with other bits of the Shakespeare canon, seeing how it mashes it up, and I just really like it. I will say the one thing I do disagree with Zach is that the best James Bond film is License to Kill. So there we are. Moving on.
One of the best theme tunes. I'll definitely give you that.
Thank you.
License to Kill is an absolute tune. Right, Matt, round us off, mate.
Just before you do, Matt, so Will, which is your favourite Bond film?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's probably not that good an answer. It's probably Dr. No. First incarnation, the most like low key,
original flavour.
Few gadgets. Feels a bit more like an adventure film. Before the kind of a lot of the tropes came in for Bond, it just feels like pure espionage.
Good to know.
Yeah, not a very fun answer. Genuine Bond fan. So I thought about it.
Yeah. So, Matt, favourite Bond film and or list of comics? Whichever order you choose.
I'll do both, but I'll start with favourite Bond film. And it might, because I've been listening to one of my favourite podcasts is a podcast that like span off from a like British leftist politics and technology podcast I listen to called Trash Future. The spin-off is a podcast called Kill James Bond that's hosted by like 3 trans people who just kind of talk about like Bond films. And so like I went back to and rewatched On Her Majesty's Secret Service recently, and I think it might be the best James Bond film.
It's really great. It's one that gets trashed because of George Lazenby,
and he might be the best or second best Bond.
Yeah, and it's not because he's bad in it. He was like blacklisted by Hollywood for being, I think, a bit of a dickhead behind the scenes, and sort of never worked again.
Well, it was more that like there's like I first learned a lot about Lazenby like years and years ago on like an episode of the Dollop, and just how like all of the sort of blagging and like lies he basically had to tell in order to get to audition in the first place, and stuff like, and just the fact that he wasn't an actor.
That was a model, but then so was Connery.
Oh, absolutely, but like he had no acting experience, literally none. And he's one of the he's one of the only like ones who is really human, like, and is just a weirdo as well. And I love
soundtrack.
Yeah, and also like you cannot describe the plot to On Her Majesty's Secret Service without sounding like you've had like you've been to like a film, fallen asleep in the cinema, woken up in another film, fallen asleep during that, woken up in the next one a couple of times, and then been asked to describe the plot of the film that you saw and not realise how long has passed.
But like, Telly Savalas is in it.
Oh, and he's so good. He's going to feed those women that mind-controlling chicken, whilst also helping them get over their allergies.
I wish I'd never asked.
But yeah, so
me too.
It's hey.
Well, you asked. You started this. Reap what you've sown.
I'm going to edit all of you, so it's different cuts of each of you speaking, but you're all going, I agree, it's die, ain't your third day.
You heard it, you can't unhear it. Yeah, my order for books is, unsurprisingly, Will and I are in agreement.
Shocked, I tell you.
But I think we like the books for different reasons. Like, at least I think like our number one is we like for slightly different reasons, like maybe, but like, yeah, Lunar Room has a bunch of elements that I should really like. It doesn't feel like a complete issue. Like it, I don't know enough about what's going on to really to have a hook. Could be good later on. And if someone tells me down the line Lunar Room got good, I'd be pleasantly surprised and give it a go. King of Spies, I have a bunch of problems with it, but it has at least got me interested a bit more. It's got gorgeous art. It has, like I say, it has its problems that we've already spoken about, but in spite of them, I can see this maybe being a good book. Like, it is at least a pretty solid first issue. Like, in terms of like constructing a first issue, it's great. The next two, I think, are actually perfect first issues. Like the like No Holds Barred tells a complete story over the course of it. It's really funny. One of the first things I thought when reading it is, Jesus Christ, how long did this take to write? Like to write the comic all in iambic pentameter and have it make sense and be funny, like, and just sort of, and for you to still like to have a sense of characters and stuff, like in like a fairly experimental comic in that regard, is a real achievement. And I really like this book. I also would have been perfectly happy with this as a one and done sort of comic that you maybe picked up from someone's stand at like a convention. I am also, though, I'm looking forward to seeing what they try to do. It's like we said, my only worry is the longevity of it, because, like I say, this is pretty perfect execution. But talking of a perfect execution, Animal Castle, there are 2 in it.
Too soon.
Yeah. This book is, again, a pretty perfect first issue. It manages to have like to set the table for everything. Like you see the situation, you see the rising tension. It all erupts and then collapses, and then we are left in the detritus and the rubble, not knowing exactly what the second issue is necessarily how it's going to open, anything like that. It's gorgeous. I really liked this book. So yeah, that's me.
Super. Well, real mixed bag, I mean, for all of us. And I guess that's good for readers, isn't it? Nobody wants to all like the same shit all the time.
No.
And I joke that I was shocked that at number 3. I think that it's perfectly understandable with a book like Animal Castle to be able to recognize it's a very good book, and also at the same time be able to say, in my personal ranking, it's near the bottom, because I don't like looking at this thing. That is perfectly reasonable.
I get it in for very, very different reasons, obviously. But I feel the same way about things like Archie. I can appreciate how good Archie is and how many people like it. Just not for me. I don't get anything from it. So I totally get it. Like it's no indictment.
Absolutely.
I think that's a large part of it. I think it's the combination that not everything is for you all the time, and not always.
No, it's
not always at the right time. I think in another day, in another year, maybe I'd be really into Animal Castle.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up at the time, but I read No Holds Barred over 2 sittings, and the first half I hated. And then when I picked it back up again, I was like, this is really fun. I think just at first, the iambic pentameter was just a pain in the ass.
Oh, it's immediately annoying.
Oh, yeah, very much.
Yeah, and then when I got into the flow of it, I was suddenly like, oh, no, actually, this is really good. But it took me 2 stabs at it.
No Holds Barred, like you say, is a book I am so glad I went into totally blind. Just like I say,
but now he can see.
Seeing the bust be pushed back and everything, and just going, oh fuck.
See, I had the opposite of having read the blurb for it so long before I read the comic that I had completely forgotten anything other than definitely has some Shakespeare in it.
Yeah, same here.
You were just like, oh, a Batman book, okay. And then you're like, wait, Shakespeare?
Yeah. Who is that?
I'm really curious about this. William Shakespeare?
Pretty sure that's how you say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just reminding me that the drummer in my old band had really, really long dreads, and apparently he was like a teaching assistant. Apparently one of the kids in his school, for some reason, had interpreted that he was what Shakespeare looked like. Just a tall man with waist-length ginger dreadlocks.
Like he was in Head PE.
Yeah.
Good. New metal.
Just something for us to all think about. Is that the second new metal mentioned?
I think we've mentioned new metal about
three. That was off air.
Oh, yeah, the first one. No, I think you might have mentioned it on air as well. Either way, new metal. Don't forget it, kids.
Well,
Lenny was a crazy time.
We've been down with the sickness, and until next time, remember, comics are down with the sickness. Ooh,
Have you ever seen the guy in karaoke doing that song, and it comes to that moment, and he gives it a go and really fluffs his lines? It's good stuff.
It's a hard noise to make if you're a human.
Okay.
We've been Puddle of Mud, and until next time.
POD.
Yeah, Drowning Pool.
Just listing bands from 2001 now? Is that what this is?
Papa Roach.
This is just descended into something.
Did I win?
I think,
Yes.
yeah, I think you won there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the point system is. I'm just shouting new metal bands. Well, Puddle of Mud aren't even new metal.
No, they're not. I was just thinking of bands. I meant to say Drowning Pool, but I was like, well, you could drown in a puddle of mud.
That'll be the like collaborative album. Where
Drown
it's like,
in mud.
yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Before we all go
Please.
mad.
Said
Please save
the
me.
Hotel California at the moment. This podcast.
So our next episode will be our first official 2022 episode. Thank you for joining us for 2021. Cheers and such. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Thanks for sticking with us for 12 months.
Yeah, you've survived 51 episodes of Bigger Than Capes.
Yeah.
We're so sorry.
We apologise.
Well, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. We hope you survive the experience.
Yeah. If you had a good time, we now have a coffee page, so give us some money, yeah?
Please.
That's the way to sell your son.
or not, what else, you know?
No, do it. Do give us money.
Check out biggerthancapes.com for more reviews and our roundup of the best of 2021 and such. And have a good new year and junk. We've been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach, collectively Bigger Than Capes. We will continue to be. And remember that new metal is
Bigger
Than
Capes.
Can pause myself.
Sorry.
Oh shit, we've started. I was too composed, clearly. As Will becomes engulfed in a cloud of
He's
vape.
escaping.
How often are you tempted to just do that, shout smoke bomb and disappear?
Can we
Every damn
can
day
we
of
just
my life.
occasionally include like an outtake after the credits and have that discussion just be after the credits in this episode?
And
Kind
also
of.
predictions.
bit like you've listened to all the silence after an album, and then you
Yeah,
get
Yeah,
but
30
make
minutes
it
after
be
the
weird,
podcast.
like it's a 30-minute longer podcast than we actually recorded.
recorded.